This game is one full of controversy. Some say they love it, some say they hate it, and some say, well, it's just okay. I, however, have never played this game. It's been sitting on my shelf since November of 2023. I've been meaning to actually get around to playing it, but it just kept getting pushed back. So I thought, maybe it's finally time I sit down and find out what makes this entry into the franchise so divisive amongst the Paper Mario community. Could it simply be the fact it's not the 1000-year door? I haven't even played this game and I think I already know the answer. Yes, probably. Just like my other TTYD remake video, I will be going over everything in chapters as it's a lot more fun to make the video on this game in that format. Is Super Paper Mario a good game? Short answer, yes. Long answer, it's alright. I'll be getting into it more as I continue, don't worry. That's all I'm gonna say for now, so enjoy. This
story is a work of fiction.
Sorry, wrong game. This game is a story of romance. Heartbreaking romance. You can tell it is because the opening is Bowser and Peach being forcefully married. This random guy here needed them together in order to create this thing called the Chaos Heart? Not sure what that is, and we won't get context for it yet because it's only the intro. The game opens up with our main boys, our main men. It opens up to Mario and Luigi having their normal conversations. Luigi is somehow complaining that nothing is happening. He's absolutely begging for a massive event. Immediately after saying this, a Toad runs up and says that Peach has been stolen. So what do? We do what we would do normally and just go talk to Bowser. Turns out he's actually just about to launch his attack and hasn't even stolen Princess Peach yet. This guy decides to appear and tell them that she was stolen by the one, the only, Count Bleck. Who's this guy again? Oh yeah, it's the guy from the intro. He says he's the guy who's supposed to fulfill the prophecy in this book called the Dark Prognosticus. He then kills Mario and takes everyone with him into this portal he summons. Sorry, did I say kill? I meant he blacked out. He awakens to this butterfly thing whose name is Tippy. She's a pixel, which is sort of like a fairy. I mean, this game is already meta, so she could have just called herself Mario's helper or something, because that's exactly what she is. She then forcefully takes us with her after not even explaining what's going on. And then we appear in this place called Flipside, where we meet a familiar face, Merlin. He's a descendant of the ancients who created this town. He's also sort of the owner of the Light Prognosticus. It's the good version of the bad book, can't you tell? I don't think he owns it. It's just kinda in his possession. Why? Because it can be. Don't ask too many questions. Merlin also was the one who originally found Tippy. She was apparently wandering dimensions for so long with amnesia before Merlin had found her in this town. It's not mentioned very often in this game, so I needed to do it here because it is integral to certain plot points later on. Apparently Mario matches the description of the hero, right down to the clothing he's wearing. When doesn't Mario match the description? Let's be honest. So apparently Mario needs to help stop the end of existence itself. This void in the sky here is the reason the world will end. I'm sure it's common sense to assume Count Bleck created it, but this game wanted to make sure you absolutely knew he was the one behind it. We then get context that apparently the union of Peach and Bowser will create the Chaos Heart, which we saw in the intro of the game. So I guess this portion here takes place after the prologue. I think it would have been better if it was put in the actual game. A lot of people might skip it, so if you do, it's your fault, I guess. Missed out on some extremely important story beats there. The Chaos Heart is the entire reason the void exists. Alright, come on. Let's get on with it. Merlin gives us this thing called a Pure Heart. We need to obtain 8 of these in order to counter the Chaos Heart and counter Count Bleck. Place it in this heart pillar, and a door spawns in that we'll need to head through. Merlin says this guy named Bestovius will give us some dimensional shifting thing, which is absolutely necessary for a journey. What's it gonna do? Bestow it upon us? Before heading through the door, let's talk a little about Flipside. So, Flipside is an area that is located between dimensions. This place is kinda big, but it's just so tedious to travel to each floor constantly. You can skip the animations, but I still have to wait for the game to load, so I'm not sure how much time you actually save there. In this town, you can do some cooking, collect character cards, get your fortune told, buy some items. No badges here because this game is not a turn-based RPG. More on that in a bit. That's pretty much it for this town. Not much to actually do here. The doors are located on top of this tower, so we'll be going up here every so often. The worst part is, you can't skip this specific animation. It's the longest one as well. They really want you to sit through this one every single time. Man, that's annoying. Meanwhile, the council is discussing how everything is going to plan and no one can stop them, except the hero. So Count Bleck plans on sending his minions to do his dirty work and take out Mario. Sounds like a solid plan. Bring it on, man. Chapter 1-1 begins. I wonder if they'll go the full extent and do 4 sub-chapters to really reference the original Super Mario Bros. We enter our first 2D section. I'm not sure if you realize it yet, but this entire game plays like the Bowser sections from Thousand Year Door. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but let's just keep playing and see how the combat is. Oh, this is just a platformer with RPG elements. I don't really like that. I miss the whole charm of being on a stage and choosing actions. Guarding. This isn't the worst change to our combat system because you still have the RPG elements, just, you know, significantly less of it. The score counter at the top of the screen is actually just your total EXP. Every time you hit a certain threshold, you'll level up. Unlike Paper Mario 64 and Thousand Year Door, the game chooses what stats to level up for you. Your health or attack will level up. Sadly, there is no FP. Why would there be? There's no other RPG mechanics. You just jump on your enemies until they die. It's a really basic battle system that leaves much to be desired. Nothing really satisfying here. They just die and that's it. The system is so basic I can't really go in depth in it like I did last time. I spent 8 minutes talking about the turn-based combat system of the previous game. Oh man, did you know this game has Power Plus in it? Yeah, it permanently increases your attack by 1. You consume it, that's that. You don't equip it. You don't get any bonuses for being in peril or danger. You can't really build Mario. The game just does it for you, and I really don't like that. The game is suddenly holding my hand after letting me decide what I want in the previous 2 games is not good game design. Want to know what the most annoying power-up in this game is? Well, you see. You turn into a gigantic 8-bit Mario and run through the stage. Well, what's the problem with that? Well, it plays this animation every single time. You can't skip it. You can't speed it up. You just sit there and wait for it to end so you can move on. I don't want to talk about combat anymore, okay? Let's just move on. Since we know this game is 2D, I'll just say right here that I like the design of this first area. The art style in this game is really fucked and I kinda enjoy it. Everything has a weird look to it, except for the old character designs that were reused. The grasslands is your standard area, but it looks really nice. We meet up with Bestovius and, oh, he really does bestow upon us the dimensional technique. Okay, game. I see what you did there. He gave us this technique at the cost of all 4 coins in my pocket. The price of this was lowered so much. It was originally like 10,000. This technique allows us to swap to a 3D playing space. Man, this feels so much nicer than playing completely in 2D. Sorry, is that a gauge? Well, this is annoying. I can only sit here for like 4 seconds before taking damage. I didn't do it, but yes, you can upgrade the gauge. All you need to do is complete the Pit of 100 Trials. Nothing too hard. I wouldn't actually know if it's hard or not. Probably just time consuming. The upgrade allows you to stay in 3D indefinitely. I wish the whole game was just based in 3D so everything would look a little nicer. We then hit the flagpole and the sub-chapter is over. Which color is the most manly? Of course it's red. Why would you even ask me that question? I guess I'll go fuck myself then. We stumbled upon our first partner in this area. There are 11 partners in this entire game. I only got 8 of them. I only thought there were 8 since it was similar to the amount in the other games. For the ones I didn't get, I'll just explain what they do. Most of the partners in this game are extremely gimmicky. Since there's no battle system, they only get gimmick overworld mechanics. Thoro allows you to throw things. Boomer lets you place bombs. Slim turns you sideways like the curse from TTYD. Thudley lets you ground pound. He also really likes to use the word girth for no apparent reason. Does Bowser deserve 10,000 girth points? I don't even know what that means. Carry allows you to sit on a platform and travel fast over dangerous obstacles. Fleep flips certain areas on screen to reveal secrets. Just place a box over this ripple in space and time and break it open. Cudge is the only partner I genuinely like because it gives you a hammer. You don't unlock this guy until like halfway through the game. Kinda got mad when I finally unlocked the hammer. I really love using this thing. It also does so much damage to enemies, it's not even funny. It kinda makes the combat more fun when I use the hammer, if that even makes sense. Dottie just makes Mario small, doesn't do anything else. Barry is the partner that allows you to super guard. Yeah, remember that mechanic? Just press at the right time and you'll knock the enemy back. I find this partner particularly interesting because of how insignificant something like super guarding would be in an action RPG. Multiple enemies are coming at me at once and a projectile as well. What am I gonna do? Not use Barry, that's for sure. I'm gonna move out of the way. These next 3 are the ones I didn't get. Dashel lets everyone run fast, which sounds useful actually. You get them by completing the Pit of 100 Trials on flip side. Piccolo plays different types of music to aid Mario or inflict status ailments on enemies. Tiptron is the most useless partner. They have the same ability as Tippy, which is just tattling enemies. I guess those are all the partners in the game. I actually do like the way these guys look. They have weird appearances to them all, and Cudge really loves Persona 4 for some reason. I would have rathered actual characters in this game, but if they needed to be something else, then pixels are great alternatives. We meet up with this guy named Ochunks. He really loves the word chunk. I didn't think I'd ever hear anyone use chunk as a verb. Not sure if I want to get chunked, thank you very much. Ochunks' boss can be summarized like this: jump on him, then get thrown across the room because he randomly grabs you with his giant hitbox, then beat him. He has a pretty good mindset. We beat him, he just allows us to move on because we proved our worth. We continue on our merry way and end up in this castle. There's absolutely nothing of note to talk about here. You just walk through it practically and end up at the end. The obstacles can all be dodged by changing the perspective. It's not very hard. We find this dragon named Fractail who tries to give us a pure heart. He's been waiting like 1500 years or something, but oh no, Dementio steps in and makes him spit a bunch of nonsense. We end up having to fight this guy, which turns into the longest fight in a video game ever. Most of this fight is actually waiting. I'm not even joking. You have to wait for him to do this long animation, swing to the other side, then you change perspectives, jump on him, and throw these balls at his antenna. That's it. That fight took almost 5 minutes just to begin. We obtained the pure heart, and that's it for chapter 1. I promise it's gonna get faster because most of this was me explaining specific stuff about the game. Just so you know, it is at this point where the game's main issue comes to light. It absolutely loves to waste your time regardless of whether you care. Sometimes it's funny, but most of the time it's just annoying. When you get the heart, she's explaining to you stuff you already know, then proceeds to go on some tangent that doesn't even matter to the overall plot. Like, it matters so little. Mario even falls asleep and the game fades to black. The previous games have moments like this, but I can count on like 2 fingers the amount of times it feels like that happened. This game has to happen like once every few hours. It's so annoying. Meanwhile, Ochunks is getting punished by Count Bleck for getting destroyed by Mario. It's not his fault Mario is the hero. He had to have known he was gonna lose. Apparently this Mimi character was given enough power to completely obliterate me. I'd like to see them try. We then wake up and get to play as Princess Peach. Oh my god, this reminds me of something. Trust me, the Peach interlude is a one and done. We just travel around through this weird place and see Bowser's minions getting brainwashed. Oh, so that's why the Koopas look so cool. Brainwashing them gives them glasses. Ain't that cool? Oh, but then we just randomly get warped somewhere. This is where we first get our actual introduction to our romance plot in the story that bleeds into the main plot as we continue the game. It's sadly only through text, but if it were animated, it would spoil a lot. We get introduced to these 2 characters. One of them is a human, and one is a creature of the Tribe of Darkness. Apparently the day they met each other is when their tragedies were set in motion. The intro to this was one of the most interesting parts of this game so far. In the 2 hours I played, I enjoyed reading this part the most. Best part about this is that every chapter from this point forward features portions of the story which I absolutely love. It was one of the things I was mainly looking forward to every time I beat one. It was one of the main reasons that kept me hooked on this game. So after reconvening with Merlin, apparently a strange person has appeared in town. It just so happens to be Princess Peach. Oh, and she actually joins us in our journey. A Paper Mario game where Peach is a main playable character? I couldn't believe my eyes. If only something was alluding to her being a playable character. Maybe the box art did. I'm not sure. Why did I say it like that? Peach has the ability to float and protect herself from projectiles. Pretty good ability. I kinda wish she could use the 3D tool, but I guess it's a reason to keep Mario the main character. The next door is apparently gonna lead us to Merlee, who has our next pure heart. Well, what are we doing here? Let's go get it! We take a long time and eventually find the next heart pillar and move on to chapter 2. I'm not too sure what to describe this as, but it's kind of just some more grasslands, nothing too crazy. We find Merlee's mansion and are stopped by this maid named Mimi. I know she's a minion of Count Bleck, but Mario doesn't. Talk about dramatic irony. I love wasting time. We break this vase and suddenly have to pay off 1 million rubies. We get trapped in this scam and are forced to take part in forced labor. I suddenly have to grind at least 10,000 rubies until I can get the code to just skip everything and steal a bunch. I absolutely didn't care for this. I just wanted to continue on with the game. If you like this, then that's alright. I just personally didn't. What I did like here was the little quiz show you play to determine which Merlee is the real one. It's pretty obvious since the real one has flies buzzing all around her, but Mimi did her best impression. Apparently, somewhere down the line, I forgot to mention that she's a shapeshifter. That's why she can shapeshift into Merlee. I probably should have included that somewhere. I think her fight was really easy, like stupid easy. You just jump on her head until her legs fall off. Fight's over. Nothing to write home about. Merlee mentions the existence of 4 total heroes, Mario and Peach being 2 of them. Then who are the other ones? Let's just look at the box art, shall we? Yeah, I think it's obvious who the other ones are. We then obtain her pure heart, and that ends this chapter. We then get some more bad guy stuff told to us. It looks like we'll have to fight Dementio next. Wonder how his fight will go. Count Bleck then proceeds to say that no one can stop the events that'll unfold. just like the act of fixing his broken heart. Playing as Luigi is a bit of a surprise here, wasn't really expecting that. Just like with Princess Peach's segment, we do the exact same thing with Luigi, except everyone just fucking hates this guy. What did Luigi do to deserve this? Absolutely nothing, that's what. I want some justice for Luigi. He deserves it. Instead of escaping the area, we instead get captured. We don't find out what happened to him for a little while, so he's dead for all we know. We then get some more story about these two unknown beings. We find out the names of these two being Bloomier and Timpani. Their names sound a bit familiar. At least one of them does. It seems like it's getting progressively more difficult for them to see each other because of what Bloomier is. Timpani obviously doesn't care about his appearance. She cares more about what's on the inside and how amazing of a guy he is. She'd risk everything for him, even being scolded by her father. Gosh, I wish this was just the entire game, man. I'm not sure why I find this so interesting, but I love the bits and pieces that are sprinkled around here. It's so intriguing. Anyways, we find the heart pillar and begin chapter 3. Wow, this looks so retro. Tippy immediately gets kidnapped by a nerd named Francis. Man, is this what people actually think of me? I didn't think being a nerd was this horrifying to people. But I mean, this guy seems like a 4chan user, so he might be the top of the top nerds. Like a different level of nerdiness. Everyone seems to really like complaining that Francis collects things. Oh my god, it's 1-2 from Super Mario Brothers, holy crap! Man, I'd be surprised if they somehow include World -1 as well. We eventually find ourselves in this area, which strangely reminds me a lot of more levels from Super Mario Brothers. And what do? We blow up his castle. And then Bowser just randomly pops out and gets angry with us. We fight his ass to the death. After fighting Bowser, we then persuade him to help us on our journey, since without his help we can't take Count Bleck down. Bowser is having none of that, so Mario just tells him that he can't take over the world if there isn't one to begin with. And that legitimately just wins him over. What an easy guy. Bowser is very slow to control. It's understandable though. He has double the attack of everyone else and does a shit ton of damage with his fire. I don't like how he has good posture now and a different voice. I love the old weird voice he had in the other games and really awful posture. Just a minor gripe that doesn't matter at all, I just really wanted to mention it. It took a long time, but eventually we found ourselves in a fight with Dementio. He spawns these diamonds, blade type things, and clones of himself, which makes the fight a lot more interesting than every other one. But it doesn't make it any less easy. Jump on his head and he's dead. About like 30 minutes later, we find our way into Fort Francis. I don't even know what to say here. Shake that thorax. Okay man, calm down. You need to go touch some grass. Apparently only hot babes can enter through the front door. Except it's locked, so I guess you won't be getting in even if we are playing as Peach. I guess Francis really loves cat maids. This is getting harder and harder to even say anything about. It just keeps getting weirder. I mouth agape at almost everything I see. That's okay though, because he has some pretty cool trinkets here. Whoa, a GameCube and a Virtual Boy? He also loves Bo. I mean, who doesn't, but I don't think I'd go far enough to have a poster of her. Yes, I love video game soundtracks. I'm not sure if every RPG needs to be 180 hours, excluding side quests. Persona 5 isn't even that long, and that's one of the longest RPGs ever. Dude, what are these questions? True. I mean, sure, I guess. Yes. No, I haven't, but yes. Absolutely not. Francis, you call yourself a nerd, but only care about the way the art looks rather than the story of the game? Come on, man, have some class at least. Fine, I guess I'll say it's true, even if I'm not happy about it. I have to progress the game somehow. Okay, what the fuck am I even playing now? It's now a dating simulator and I have dialogue options? Dude, this might be the best part of this game. This is peak Mario. I love every part of this. It's so stupid. It's peak. These dialogue options are 3 drastically different portions of the spectrum. Of course I'm picking option 1. She is absolutely pissed, oh my god. Francis then gets scared of real women. So we stomp the ever-living shit out of him and save Tippy. This boss fight isn't very interesting. The dating sim is more memorable than this entire fight. He swallows us sometimes, he spawns things, teleports around the arena. It's really nothing to write home about. It turns out that Tippy was actually the one that held the pure heart this whole time. Her trust for us is what made this thing appear out of literal thin air. Count Bleck talks about a mysterious fourth minion he's gonna send out to try and kill us. I doubt it'll work. It's a 3-on-1. We'd win regardless. I like how they all just refer to the guy as him. Like, does he have a name or something? I'd sure like to hear it. His secretary tells him that there's still time to change his mind. He doesn't have to end the world and delete everything. Of course, he denies any reason to stop what he's doing because he's the bad guy. After disappearing, Dementio was apparently there the entire time, just invisible in the 2D plane. He wants to know what the deal is with Count Bleck's reasoning for destroying the entire world. There's obviously some hidden agenda here that he hasn't told anyone else. Who's ready for some more lore? So apparently Timpani was avoiding Blumir because his father would continue to hurt her if she didn't stop seeing him. That's it? That's all we get? Come on, game, you can't do that to me. That was incredibly short. I hope the next one is longer to make up for it. The void continues to expand, which means our time is slowly running out. You know the drill. We find the heart pillar and head into chapter 4. Except it's space, so now we need to be able to breathe. It wasn't a problem before, so why is it now? After I waste 7 minutes of my life, let's actually begin. Chapter 4 is a slight deviation from the original format that this game had. It's basically just a shooter section, which was quite a nice change of pace. I really enjoyed this. This squid thing tells us that he knows where the pure heart is located. He wants us to charge up some teleportation power, but of course that doesn't work, which is why the shooter section exists. This chapter is pretty much completely filler and is hellbent on making you spend as much time as humanly possible in space. Halfway through this place, we use Scorps to open up one of these gates. Pretty easy. Imagine doing that again, but this time we need to feed him something he likes. Since I didn't realize there was a sign there that told me, I started giving him my items. Yeah, don't do that. He just throws them away and you don't get them back. So, you know what you had to give him? Chocolate. Now, where do we get chocolate, you may be asking? Well, at 7-Eleven, of course. There's just one floating here in space. He then somehow splits in two and opens up the gate. Then we find ourselves in this area where the pure heart is located. This place is so disorienting, it's not even funny. The gravity switching mechanic here was not fun to use at all. It was just annoying. Other than that though, we stumble upon this mysterious Mr. L guy. Not sure who he is, but he's Count Bleck's fourth minion. We just jump on him until he dies, but that's not all. There's a second phase. This is Mr. L's Brobot. It's just another shooting section with a banger song playing in the background. In this fight, we can pick up various chocolate bars that give us different types of buffs. Does anyone like being completely invincible? After absolutely demolishing him, he runs off and we take our pure heart, finishing off chapter 4. Apparently Mr. L is the key component in the dark prognosticus that is needed to stop us. So Luigi is needed to end life as we know it. Okay, if we're taking this seriously, then this guy is the fucking Antichrist. You know, the being that is said to appear as the end of the world is being brought forth. Yeah, this guy. Apparently Count Bleck used to be a completely different person. He was someone who cherished the existence of the universe more than anyone else did, but the loss of the love of his life set all these events in motion. Count Bleck would rather everything be destroyed if he can't live in a world where he can be with her. Apparently, Timpani and Blumiere wanted to run away together in order to find a place where their love was accepted and to get married. They'd spend an eternity searching if they have to in order to find the place where their love can blossom. I think at this point, I can tell who the people in the story actually are, considering what Count Bleck said earlier about wanting to destroy everything because he couldn't have the one he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. The ones in the story are definitely Tippy and Count Bleck. There's absolutely no doubt about it. After arriving back in Flipside, Tippy passes out for some reason. We get more context for why Tippy looks the way she does. Merlin found her while she was barely hanging on by a thread and took some desperate measures to give her a chance at a new life. You'll never guess where the next heart pillar is. It's in this place called Flopside. It's called that because you flip-flopped to get there. Anyways, this place is almost exactly the same as Flipside, so I'm not gonna bother explaining the entire area again. We meet up with Merlin's Flopside version, Naldrem. Let that sink in. He tells us where exactly the heart pillar is, so we place it in there, then travel all the way back to Flipside, where Tippy has fully recovered. Nothing really of note is said here, just she wants to help us as much as possible. Anyways, we eventually head through the door here, leading us to chapter 5. Chapter 5 is a very infamous chapter to my knowledge, and while playing through this chapter, I can see exactly why. These Kragnons have been attacked by the Floral Sapiens, a race of flowers that really hates these guys enough to kidnap and enslave them. This came out of left field. Oh yeah, they also name-dropped the Pure Heart. This chapter absolutely loves to waste your time for no reason. So you're probably thinking, well, I'll just head through these doors and go through the rest of the level, until you find yourself your first block puzzle. This one's easy, you could probably guess what it is, but if not, you head all the way back to town and talk to one specific NPC that tells you. Then you walk back, put it in, then you come across another block puzzle where the code is so complex, you could either look it up or walk back and have to type in please several times just to get an answer to this guy. Since I didn't know how complex it really was, I didn't think to look it up at all. Oh my fucking god, this is awful. The game even wants you to write it all down, it's that long. What's even the point of doing that? They didn't have to do that at all. Guess what? Another battle without chunks. Apparently is more powerful now. Yeah, I beg to differ. Eventually we find ourselves in this cave system, where we meet the best character, Flint Cragley. He's like the Flavio of this game, except not a total douche. We are tasked with finding his crew, which we do. Nothing really happens for a little bit until we stumble upon the factory where these guys are being mass enslaved. Apparently Dementio was helping them out, so we need to beat O'Chunks up again. That's really weird that we just don't fight Dementio, but okay. This fight is the exact same as before. I'm not sure why we need to keep fighting this guy. The fights don't get any more difficult. After spending like half an hour trying to figure out what I was doing wrong here, we find ourselves fighting the leader of the Floral Sapiens. Really stupidly easy boss. It's just time consuming. You just sit there and wait for the face to become visible, then you can damage them. After killing the leader of a race of plants, we find out that the Kragnons have been polluting the water with their garbage, which made the leader go insane from drinking it. The whole problem gets solved in 5 seconds, and we obtain our 6th Pure Heart. The story here doesn't really progress much. We basically just get to learn more about how much they care about each other. Under the night sky, Timpani explains a tradition in her village where wishes from stars come true. Blumiere says that there's no need for him to wish for anything because he already has everything he needs. This shit's gonna make me tear up, man. I can't handle this. Tippy feels as if she almost remembered something extremely important to her. I believe we already know what it is, but let's let her keep it to herself until the game actually does bring it up. The void continues to grow larger, which is usual. Chapter 6 takes place in this battle arena. I actually thought this part was really well done. It makes you think you're about to fight 100 rounds of the same enemies, but because of how massive the void is here, that doesn't end up being the case. Count Blick shows up again and reiterates how trying to stop the inevitable is impossible. The Chaos Heart has made his plans go rather smoothly. His motivations are then reconfirmed when he says that everything besides Timpani is worthless to him. The destruction of every world doesn't matter to him. He can't live in a world without her, so he desperately wants to get rid of it all. I think he might be Blumiere. Correct me if I'm wrong. Everyone just suddenly stops fighting us until we stumble upon Mimi. We fight her again as she tries to stop us, until the place gets consumed by the void. But we absolutely beat her ass and continue onward. Her fight is so much better this time around. It's not difficult, but I really enjoyed it. Her new moveset really kept me on my toes way more than last time. It's basically just her throwing rubies at us, so we punish her by destroying them and whacking her with my hammer. This guy goes absolutely insane and the world gets sucked up and we get kicked out. Tippy remembers the fact she knows Count Black, but can't remember why or who he is. We end up going back through the door only to end up in a white void of nothingness and being forced to walk for 4 fucking minutes just to see anything. We come across a Pure Heart, but it looks a little different this time. Before getting a chance to look any closer, the mysterious Mr. L tries to take it from us. I think we know the drill by this point. We beat the shit out of both him and his brobot once again. Dementio appears and kills Luigi after we leave the area. We then take this drained Pure Heart to Merlin, and Dementio appears again out of nowhere and fucking obliterates us. Everyone is separated from each other and sent to this place called the Underwear, or World -1. Oh my god, it's actually in this game. World -1 is the place where people go when they game over. I mean, this just looks like hell, so I guess that confirms the existence of an afterlife in the Mario universe. Count Black begins to wonder if the pixel who was with Mario was actually Timpani. He then immediately brushes it off and says that no one, not even himself, can stop the prophecy at this point. I feel like there's usually a backdoor to these things. It's called the Light Prophecy. Count Black's Blumiere's father forced Timpani to disappear because Blumiere was resisting his own fate to be with the woman he loves. So what if he wants to resist his fate? Let him carve his own path of happiness. We get introduced to this girl who speaks like she's straight out of a Shakespearean play and absolutely shits on Mario for being old. Isn't he like 25 or something? I refuse to believe Mario is an elderly man. She quickly disappears and, honestly, good riddance. Seeing her leave makes me really happy. Meet up with Queen Jades? One of the two, who rules over World -1. In return for finding her daughter, whose name is Loveby, she'll help us restore the pure heart. Going to where she first told us just leads us to Luigi. Aw, he's so scared. He doesn't deserve to be in this situation at all. Poor Luigi. Being the Antichrist wasn't his choice. So we actually get to play as Luigi now. He's pretty much like Mario, except he can jump really high, like Ultra Boots high. We end up finding her Shakespearean daughter and are finally able to leave this place with the pure heart. Finally. We're done with that place. The 7th pure heart will draw together 2 men. Quite an ominous piece of text for it just to be Mario finding his brother. It sounded like a fierce battle was about to take place or something. After reconvening with Tippy, we head through the final door on this tower, beginning Chapter 7. Oh fuck, we're back. Our main goal here is to find Peach and Bowser because they are just MIA currently. The overall design of this area is actually really cool. You're probably thinking, why do I hate this area? Well, we are tasked with taking Loveby here to her father up in the over there, or heaven. That's not the issue. The issue is that this area just keeps fucking going. When you think you're getting close, it just continues on and on. After we find Bowser, he gets extremely angry at us and thinks we're keeping him away from his wife, so we fight him again? It's the same fight as before. He just does more damage. After getting him back, we continue climbing up through the darkness and doing these quizzes the door guys force us to take part in. The quizzes are pretty fun, but aren't very hard. We eventually get to this portion with 3 old women who send you back to various different places. I think it's really mean that even the correct one who gives you a key sends you the furthest back. It made me hate this place even more. The boss before heading to heaven is actually really cool. Finally, turn-based combat. The fight here is straight out of Earthbound. Looks extremely bare bones, but I thought it was actually one of the better bosses in this game. This place is somehow worse than World -1. So many enemies everywhere. Climbing takes so long, it just doesn't ever end. Eventually, we find Peach, who has succumbed to eating the forbidden fruits that puts her to sleep forever. I tried every single piece of fruit except the right one, and it took me half an hour to find the black apple. Now we can continue onwards and get out of here. We need to save everyone from these villains of some sort, not sure what to call them. They broke the bridge leading to Loveby's father's palace after invading, so we've got to repair it now and save him. Want to know how easy this boss is? Jump with Luigi a few times and boom, dead. So apparently the queen and Granby, that's his name by the way, aren't her real parents. She was originally a pure heart, but was given the form of a nimbus to protect its location. That's all we need to know. Come on, let's get her out of here. Count Bleck knows full well at this point that the pixel is Timpani. As much as he'd like to stop it, there's no way he can do it on his own. So he decides he's gonna go all out and let them see if they can actually stop him. Blumiere takes the Dark Prognosticus and becomes Count Bleck because his life had become empty without her. He had no reason to continue living. This is the end of the story that gives us our backstory on who Timpani and Blumiere are. I absolutely love this story. I'm not someone who really cares that much for romance and different types of media, but this game really made me feel so sad for these two. They have had to endure so much just to try and be together, which even resulted in the events of this game taking place because Blumiere couldn't stand to live in a world without her. He'd do anything to destroy everything since life didn't matter to him. Everything he felt was completely empty afterwards. When I discussed the stories like this that existed in Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, I said that those types of stories needed to be brought back, because fleshing out characters is something a JRPG desperately needs. Having a one-dimensional character is terrible. Count Bleck and Tippy are such amazing characters. We get to learn just how much they care about each other and their personalities through the extensive world building done throughout the entire game. I'm gonna reiterate myself a bit here and say that I really want stories like this back in Paper Mario. The games feel much more engaging and memorable when there are moments like these in them. How many people desperately cared when Kirsty and Sticker Star was taken away from you? No one. Point proven. I guarantee if she had a developed character, people wouldn't hate on her nearly as much. Anyways, I'm gonna get back to the story because we are getting so close to the end of the game. Tippy has a dream about Blumiere begging him to stop what he's doing to the world. She then brushes it off and we place the heart in the pillar and meet Merlin and Nullrem on the top of the tower in Flopside, where we prepare to enter Chapter 8. Castle Black is definitely the coolest looking place in the entire game. It seems a little basic in design, but I personally think it looks awesome regardless. Each subchapter here is basically just getting through portions of his castle, with each of them ending with a fight between one of the previous bosses we fought. Each of the fights force you to use a specific character, which ends with you losing that character afterwards. Both Ochunk's and Mimi's fights are so similar, you could stick them in the other chapters and you wouldn't even notice. Dementio has a little game of tag before you actually fight him. You go through each area you ran through throughout your journey. I thought this was a really cool way of making you realize just how far you've actually come from the beginning all the way to the end. Dementio tells us that he's been helping us this entire time since he wanted us to help him destroy Count Black. Apparently Dementio wants us to cooperate with him and let him still destroy every world. That's not how this works, Dementio. Now die. Count Black decides to have an invincibility phase since he is in possession of the Chaos Heart. But with the arrival of the other three heroes, the Chaos Heart shatters and Count Black becomes vulnerable to damage. Jump on him once, twice, thrice, and he's dead. Pretty easy fight. After being defeated, the Chaos Heart drops and Timpani and Blumiere have a little heart-to-heart. It's really cute, I love its inclusion. Too bad it ends way too soon and Dementio forces Luigi to pick up the heart. Luigi is the ideal host for the Chaos Heart, so Dementio wants to use him to kill everyone else. Dude, what's with Luigi being the Antichrist? Luigi gets to have his invincible phase for a while until it cuts to everyone in the other dimension. Timpani forbids Blumiere from admitting defeat. They spent so long searching for each other that she wasn't going to let him just give up like that. The very fact they are all feeling love at that very moment was enough to summon the pure hearts again. Now that Luigi and Dementio isn't invincible anymore, we can finally just wail on them until they eventually die. I love this boss theme so much, it's just too bad you don't get to hear it for very long since he dies so quickly. Since the world is about to end, there's only one thing they can do to get rid of the Chaos Heart. They must use true love in order to banish it to the Shadow Realm, but the price they must pay beyond their love is their life. Timpani and Blumiere renew their vows and are able to lift the impending doom on the world. We get one final piece of dialogue where Blumiere asks Timpani if she wants to finally go to that place together. The place where they can be with each other for the rest of eternity. I'm about to cry hearing this. Just imagine how I felt writing this. God damn. We wake up in Flipside to see everything has returned to normal, and every world has been saved from the massive void in the sky. We get to see one last glimpse of Blumiere and Timpani walk down the grassy hill into the distance. And that was Super Paper Mario. After everything I have played, I firmly believe this game is single-handedly the best story in any Mario game. I don't care what anyone says. It's just that good. The game itself has a plethora of issues that I just absolutely despise and wish was done differently. That's just on the gameplay side of things mainly. Besides the several parts of this game that just focus on wasting your time above all else, the story is absolutely phenomenal, and I really think everyone should experience this game for themselves. This is more than just a silly wahoo Mario game. This is a masterpiece of storytelling. I hope you enjoyed my long video on Super Paper Mario. This took me a little longer than usual to make, but if you made it to the end, then I'm glad you did because I absolutely loved making it. I'm not sure when I'll do a video on Paper Mario 64. I kinda need a break on Paper Mario, but hopefully there will be one sooner rather than later. Thank you for watching. If you like my content, then please like, comment, and subscribe as it helps me a lot and I'll actually get noticed within the YouTube algorithm. I'll see you guys in my next video. Have an amazing rest of your week.